Welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's Friday night, 7:09 p.m. Central. We got Wham here with us tonight, and Suzanne Bishop is back with us. She's sitting out in the desert. You can hear the wind whipping in the energy and setting the mood just right for sure. And it's good to have you here. Stories of the unseen from the high desert. So, where are you at exactly? And I guess let us know a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm staring at the northern section of the Sandia Mountains, and I'm about 20 miles, 17 north west of Albuquerque. I'm about 10 miles, no, 15 miles east of the Navajo Reservation, and about maybe 20 miles from Pueblo Reservation.
Cool. Very
So
nice.
I'm on sacred land for sure. In the way that I use that is that this land has a rich history of magic, and the Native Americans will not call it magic, but the reason why there's skinwalkers in the Southwest is because the lore is certain people in a tribe, the Navajo would be one of them out here. They were practicing witchcraft, and they were practicing things that really shamans or they don't call them shamans out here, medicine people would learn during their entire childhood and teenage years how to do certain things. So what happened is some people in the tribes had taken things into their own hands, and I think it's out of trauma, because what happened out here in this area, they had their own uh, Trail of Tears called the Long Walk. The Navajo had to walk from where the big Navajo Nation is in Arizona to here. A lot of people died, and they ended up, I believe, south of Kirkland Air Force Base, north of like Truth or Consequences in New Mexico. And so what happened is there was a lot of trauma involved. That's my experience of it. That there was a lot of trauma, and just like the Lakota with the sun dancing, the Navajo, in order to raise their spirits, uh, decided to do their own spirituality, and some of it got out of hand. And that's where some of the skinwalkers come from in Utah, and then also here in this area there are skinwalkers. And what I wanted to talk about today was the experience I've had here, not only here, but in the Southwest traveling. If anybody's uh, sensitive to energy at all, you can really feel, especially where I was in Southern Colorado, you can really feel the energy. I wouldn't call it haunted, but you can really feel the energy of ancient kind of energies, and you can feel some unsettledness almost, and you can feel at times a lot of stability coming from the land. And I believe that a lot of that sensitive people can feel those things, it's coming from something. And I feel like it comes from the earth itself, because underneath the ground here, and as well as in Southern Colorado, is one of the closest to the surface of the most ancient bedrocks that has been like discovered like by scientists who study geology. And so anyway, I think that the reason why there's so much I don't want to call it psychic activity, but energy that sensitives can really feel, just like if you were in Gettysburg, you could probably feel the death that happened there. And so part of it is natural, that we're underneath bedrock that is really old, and unlike in the East Coast, it's not sunken down deep under newer bedrock. And that's one reason. And then another reason is the lore or the stories are speaking of maybe a little bit of out of control use of spirituality that got out of control, and the skinwalkers are like an energy all on their own. In this area in particular has skinwalkers. Navajo talk about them. Also, Sasquatch is out here. And my story is basically about the Sasquatch of Sandia Mountains and the Ponti of the Sandia Mountains. Ponti are a gray type of ET out here. And the Navajo have long history and family stories of the Ponti, as well as Sasquatch. But this area here is the same kind of energy that I'm picking up and other sensitive people pick up about. The history is so the history of the land is so close to you, because the bedrock is not of the ancient bedrock is not, deep, and it's being covered up. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yes.
so anyway, I don't know if you two have been out in the Southwest at all, or even California. I hear Oregon and Washington has its own flavor of energy, not only coming from the ley lines of the earth, but also just the history,
I've never been that.
Yeah, I've been to the Southwest several times. I've
Yeah,
been
well,
to
what did you
Albuquerque.
think
I
of
lived in
Professor Wham? You
Well-
live in Albuquerque.
I lived. Yeah, I always have really liked the Southwest.
Yeah. Oh, I do too.
I
Yeah.
the place of pilgrimage that I go when I go there. I haven't been for a while. Is on the Navajo reservation. Is Canyon de Chelly is really sort of my kind of go-to place.
Yeah.
But I've been in a lot of places in New Mexico, Arizona, Western Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through Utah and Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had a couple of really interesting experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a couple of my more profound kind of spiritual experiences. Like I had one in Chaco Canyon and one in Canyon de Chelly. I wouldn't call them paranormal. I've been aware for a long time that there is paranormal stuff, obviously, that are associated with some of these sites.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do feel an energy, but it's there's a lot of energetic places in a lot of places. So it's I think it's a matter of really kind of what a person tunes into. I mean, I love the desert colors. I love the vibe, but I'm very much more of a forest stone person myself.
Yeah.
So that's why I live in upstate New York, where you have that.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah.
there are special places, very definitely in the Southwest.
Oh yeah, the energy imprints, I call them, are all over the world. But the story tonight is about this area, and I was just trying to segue into the personal stories. Like I learned about the history after I had the personal experiences. And so, did you hear about the long walk when you?
Oh
were
yes,
here?
I knew about the long walk. Yes,
Yeah,
I knew
yeah.
about the long walk. I mean,
Now,
I've made it my business to really become as informed as possible about most of the indigenous peoples in North America, and the Navajo and the Dene in particular, and the Pueblo peoples in particular. They're so significant to that region that and then and the Dene Nation, of course, is one of the largest of the in terms of population of the reservations. I think it's the largest in terms of space but in terms of population, I think they're second to Cherokee. But so since they're such an important part of the that I knew about their history. You know, it's in fact, I've known a couple of elders in my time, you know,
Well,
over the
let me
years.
ask you,
So
I only got
it's,
this information from one source, and it seemed like a pretty legitimate source. It wasn't
Mhm.
modern information. It was, I don't know, from the library talking about the native culture, and it was coming from a Native American historian and all that. So did you hear the same
mhm.
kind of story? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
But
same kind of story about what? About what?
about the skinwalker, how the skinwalkers came to the Southwest in the beginning.
Oh, you know,
The
I've heard,
shapeshifters, the shapeshifters.
yeah, I've heard a couple of different accounts
Yeah.
of where that comes from, because it's not unique. Obviously, it's not unique to the Dene. You know,
Hmm.
I mean, you know, some of the other Pueblo groups have their own version of shapeshifter, and certainly
Hmm.
the Ute natives have their own. There are several different kind of versions of the story, and
Yeah.
the ones that I heard talk say one of two things. They
Hmm.
talk about how this was that the knowledge of how to do this was an old knowledge that very,
Hmm.
very few people engaged in, but that it became frequent for individuals to take that path
Hmm.
um, after colonization.
Yeah.
And it just had to do with um, that sense of powerlessness or trauma, like you were talking about, and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
and also in some instances, um, and this is just what one individual told me, that in some
Yeah.
instances, some of these individuals who would do it not just simply at like white people, but it would be like it would actually be a response sort of in general, so that that sometimes would also victimize other indigenous people that they felt like might have been in either cahoots with white people or in competition with them for resources. So
Yeah.
you know, it was that's part of the reason why, you know, other indigenous people will sometimes be afraid. You know, certain rumors would grow up around these around certain groups of people with each other. So
Hmm.
but I also know that among at least traditional Dene, I don't, you know, I think some of the young people are becoming a little bit more open now, but among
Yeah.
traditional Dene, you did not talk about this stuff. I mean,
Yeah. Some of the
taboo
Navajo don't want to
to
talk
talk
about
about
it.
it.
No, they don't want to talk about it because it scares them, I think. But
Well, it's also considered unseemly, you know, to
yeah.
talk about those kinds of things. They don't want that to become the what people know about them. You know, I mean,
Oh,
it's like,
absolutely. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
it's a
Yeah. Well, I don't know why.
reputational
I
thing.
just seemed like they were scared. In fact, they said one person said, Uber driver from the Navajo Nation said, "No, I don't want to talk about that." So, uh,
Right.
Meanwhile,
No,
you have,
right.
yeah,
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
I was just
my
going to say,
yeah. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
meanwhile, you have Skinwalker Ranch being turned into a tourist attraction like Disney World. So it's like they're giving them.
Right.
I
Right.
understand what they don't want to give it attention because that draws it in too. So I mean, on some level, I understand the different perceptions of it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But do you want me to break in with telling my stories of what happened to me here?
Yeah,
It
I
really
find.
doesn't,
Sure.
I
Yeah,
don't
Sure.
think, have anything to
oh,
do with the
definitely.
Navajo. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I mean, I find the topic of them very fascinating, skinwalkers. It gives me the creeps. And me and
Yeah.
Christina saw a big, large, weird kind of dog, or I don't know what the hell it was, on a Florida highway it reminded me of an illustration from a Native American book of one of them with like furs on. I
Yeah.
don't know what it, I don't know what.
Chimichanga thing
It
whatever
was
that.
very weird, and that may
Yeah.
have been one. And once I interviewed J.C. Johnson in written form, and he passed away from pneumonia. He's a big cryptozoologist, and he did a
Yeah.
written report on, like, in depth about how they believe they can become one, which you apparently take the life of someone you love or something. It was weird, but it gets creepy. It creeps me out. There's another guy that's on Coast to Coast all the time that got attacked by one. I have his book he's been on, but right now I can't remember his name, but the book's over there. But it gives me the creeps, but I still like it on some level. But yeah, go ahead. Just whatever you want to do. Tell us your stories and what's been going on.
Well, it sounds like it's a one stop, one shop all, Jeopardy. Okay. Well, this is just my personal experience, and whoever believes it can believe it, but I know that it's real. And it's weird. If you mention this to white people, they'll say, "Oh, that's just a skinwalker." If two or three I've talked to Navajos about it, and they said, "Oh, that was Bigfoot welcoming you to the neighborhood." That happens to us all the time. So I'm not sure. I'm betting it's more the Pontian Bigfoot rather than a skidwalker. Or it could be a couple things. But what happened was, even how I got here is a little bit weird and magical. Where I had been traveling the Southwest looking for land to buy when COVID started, and because I just felt the need to do that. That's a whole other topic for another show for other people. But when you have a calling on something, you listen to your inner voice. You just go for it, But that's what happened to me. That was the beginning of the journey, traveling the Southwest. And then I was headed from Alamosa. I had injured my leg very badly at a dog park. And that was even strange because I was at the Alamosa dog park with my dog, part Catahoula and part lab, meant for a homestead I'd eventually build. I was at the dog park with her, and I had just gotten there the day before I was leaving for southern New Mexico, the Gila Mountains, Silver City. And so I just undid her leash, looked up, and turned around a little bit toward the bench, and I was just ready to move my left leg over to go over to the bench. And my dog started immediately playing with dogs about her size or larger. She's about almost 50 pounds. And they were playing really rough behind me and ran into the back of my legs. And I did a Gumby flip where I felt the bone in my thigh bend. And I ended up in a mangled mess and went to the ER. But from that on, I was healing my leg, heading down to the Silver City area. And I had just gotten my trailer hitched up again. I had stayed at a bed and breakfast to check the southern Colorado area out near Blanca, Colorado. And so I was heading down. I got my trailer hitched up by a professional. A neighbor was someone who went out in the wilderness out there and helped newbies in the area get gas or something, because there's like 50 miles between gas stations sometimes. But anyway, this is part of the story. He knew what he was doing, and he helped me hitch it back up. I had been hitching it up. And so, I headed down, stopped into Bernalillo to visit a friend who I met on the road, and we had coffee. Got in my trailer, and I was going to just go straight from Bernalillo, which is about 25 miles north of where I am, and just go straight. And so I always check my tires when I go over 100 miles and don't stop. So I checked my tires at a professional place. They were doing free tire checking, and they said, "Well, you're not going anywhere." And I said, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong with my tires?" "Oh, your tires are great, but the bottom of your truck is falling out." I had just purchased this truck in Pittsburgh, a used truck, but it was supposed to have been inspected. And so I said, "The bottom of my truck's falling out." What? And so I had Farm and Fleet people get under there with their little dolly thing, and they said, "It's really bad." It's really bad. And so I had to take the trailer out off the truck. I ended up at an RV place near here where I live right now. They had their own homestead. But anyway, I ended up there. But I got stranded here. And I got the dealership negotiating with them to buy the truck back after the state's attorney in PA. They saw the pictures and they saw the documents of how I only had the truck for like 3 or 4 months and just zipped right from Pittsburgh area to here. There's no way the bottom of the truck could fall out. They didn't inspect it properly. So anyway, long story short, I'm here, right? And I'm here under a lot of duress with a very injured leg. And I'm in the RV park. She later became my mentor. She has her own homestead about a mile from here. But I was at her RV park, and I used to get out of my trailer in the morning, make my coffee, and I could just, they're right there. The Sandia Mountains are right there. And so I'd say, oh, hi, Sandia Mountains. And I'd say, oh, Ponte, I know about you from my friends, and I want to say hi. And every morning I did that for like 6 months. And then about a week after I bought the land, I was ready to haul my trailer over here. I told, because it's more remote over here, and I told the Ponte, I said, in the morning, I said, hey, I'm really scared. Can you protect me when I go over there and live there? And that night, it was about 5 hours later, that night, I literally spun out of my body. And I was not on a ship, I don't think, but I was in this darkened room. And I saw the Ponte come around the corner. They're like little spinely legged, kind of gray, but their energy was really, it was really buoyant. They reminded me of munchkins in their energy almost. And so I turned around because I felt that it felt like a dream. I turned around and there was one just right there, like right there. And I said, oh, who are you? And she said, my name is Mo. And I said, oh, okay. And so I immediately at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, I texted through Messenger a friend here. She's a mentor for like gardening and stuff. She happens to paint the Ponte, and she happens to paint Bigfoot. I found out later. So I told her about what happened. And I said, do you have a Mo or a No or someone like that that's an ET? I had an interaction with the Ponte last night around 11 o'clock. And she said, well, there's a Mona Lisa. And we got to talking, and I told her what happened. And the next time I went over to her house, she gave me a painting that she painted in charcoal of Mo. So, and this is all part of the story because I have conversations through the painting with Mo a lot. And but that was my introduction, like with a personal experience with the Ponte. And I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but the fact that there was a Mo in the group, I had not gone to her website maybe once because I think she was going to be interviewed when I had the meetup, Star Nation meetup, but I didn't really go to her site and look at her work. And I think she told me one day, she goes, I don't even have a painting of Mo up anywhere. And so I think because of all these things, I really had a real experience. And so anyway, her energy is with me a lot. And then after I got here, it was about maybe 4 months after I got here. I had within 4 months, I had several really heightened, not frightening like you're going crazy and you're running off the land or anything like that. But it was pretty heightened in the intensity of it. One night, I was sitting in the front of the trailer where my bed is, and my dog was sitting in the front too. And we heard a noise in the back of the trailer. I have a 20-foot trailer. And in the back side of the trailer facing west, there was 1 pound on the back of the trailer, like a forceful pound, not an angry pound, but just a intentional, forceful pound. And we both went back there, and my dog was ballistic, and I was crazy, like so scared. What person is out there. And I said, hey, Sam, get the gun. And I said it in such a loud, nasty manner. I even scared my dog. My dog just looked at me, and I pounded the window. And so I went back to the front with my dog, and we're just sitting there. And she stopped growling, and we're just sitting there. I didn't hear any footsteps or anything. And on the side of the trailer, near the front windows, the same side, there was another pound. And the pounds were the same velocity and sound, or whatever you want to call it, the same strength of intention, in the same middle of, look at a trailer like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 planes, right? So in the middle of the pounding was also intentionally in the middle of the trailer, vertically and horizontally. So there were 2 pounds on the side that was facing west. And then they were all about 10 or 15 minutes apart. And at that point, when it hit the trailer in the front, that's where we were sitting, my dog stopped barking, and we were just like looking at each other. We don't know what's going on. We don't like it. We don't know what's going on. And I'm thinking maybe it's an animal, and it just keeps like a big tall coyote, and it just keeps pounding its body against, like thumping it against the trailer. I'm thinking it's not a person. I don't hear anything out there, and there's plenty of stuff to fall. It was at nighttime, no full moon. It was just really dark. And so it went ahead and hit the front of the trailer near the door once, and I got really scared because it was near the door. I thought it was probably a person. I couldn't hear their footsteps. And so when it hit the top of the trailer, and once again, you have to understand, each pound sounded very similar, and they were spaced 10 to 15 minutes apart. And the intention of hitting the trailer, top, vertical, and horizontal, in the middle, right? And each plane of the trailer. So when they hit the top of the trailer, I'm thinking, that's not an animal. Is it a bird? That's not a person. The trailer's too tall. You need a ladder. And it was also exactly kind of where some other ones were, vertically and horizontally. And it was between, on the roof, it was exactly between the eastern exposed side and the western exposed side. And then I thought it was weird, because I realized how much I'm not afraid of the unseen world. I said, oh God, thank God it's not some crazy person out there. It seems paranormal. That's what I said to myself. And my dog stopped barking. Every time the pound happened, at the same time, we looked at each other, and we just couldn't figure out what was going on. When it hit underneath, I almost, excuse my language, peed my pants. He's like underneath the trailer, exactly underneath where it hit the top, where the door is, right? That area. It hit the bottom, and there's no way an animal could have done that. A human could have done that, because I have sand underneath my trailer. It's on like mounds of sand. And so there's no way. So it's definitely paranormal. And at the time I didn't know it could be Bigfoot. And so I told Sue about it, and she said, well, on the reservation, I'm told that Bigfoot hits the garage door or the front door to say hello. I went, wow, that's interesting. I got a lot of hellos that other night. And when I ran into people, like this one Uber driver, I told him about it, and he didn't want to talk about it. And then this one lady, we hit it off in a dollar store. She was a retired school counselor, and I'm at the time a retired art therapist. And so we just started talking, and I said, hey, by the way, can I ask you about Sasquatch around here? Is it okay to do that? And she said, yeah. And so I told her what happened. She goes, that was Bigfoot welcoming you to the neighborhood. And so what was really strange about it, you guys, is that I just started practicing for my own development and my own draw to it is what they call light language or soul language. And I was like speaking in tongues almost. I was like talking like just verbalizing and maybe primitive kind of talking or speaking in tongues or whatever. And I felt like I had like such a strong spiritual experience from that. Well, that was that afternoon before the pounding happened. Now, did I call the pounding in? I don't know. But that was strange too. About 2 weeks after the pounding happened, there was whistling in front only of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 windows in the very front where we sleep. And so a lot of these things, including the visit to the Ponte that night, and then the Bigfoot, it was at night, and it was around between 10:30 and 12 at night. It happened always at the same time period. And so the whistling happened, and it was weird because I thought it was a bird that could hover at nighttime because I didn't hear any footsteps again. And it just seemed like whatever was out there whistling was hovering or something. That's what I felt. I didn't open the curtains or anything. And so in what seemed to be the middle of each window, there was one whistle at the same velocity, the same tone, the same length of whistle, which I thought it to me, between the pounding and that experience with the whistling, it felt to me like it was almost a program, like somebody programmed this, if that makes sense. How could it be so much? Each whistle and each pound sounded so similar. And so I felt that the whistle was probably paranormal from what I didn't know. And I asked Sue, is there a bird around here that does stuff like that? And she said, no, I can't think of one, but I'll send you some bird sounds. So she did. And then I went over at her house again doing gardening with her, and I told her about the whistling. And she said, well, I think she said something like, well, I don't want to get you upset, but I think that's Bigfoot because he whistles too. And I just burst out laughing. I said, come on, this is all a joke. It's your hidden camera somewhere. I mean, you're kidding me. Bigfoot whistles too. And so, well, apparently it whistles. And so 2 weeks after that, I heard not a sound of animal footprints or like foot sounds, but it felt like there was movement. There was whistling like happening again, but I heard rustling in the trees. I'm between four trees, four juniper trees. And so for whoever was coming up, whether human or not human or paranormal, they were coming up the hill and coming around, and they were passing the front of the trailer. But I heard that same kind of whistle, and I don't know what that was again. Another thing that happened maybe a month later was that I was sitting in the front of the trailer, and I just, in my mind's eye, felt that there was energetically a light, almost like a straight light, that it was almost neon, like I saw it in my third eye. I felt it. There was a light coming from the center of the juniper trees, the 4 juniper trees, like a grove, I guess, in the desert. I felt it coming through the glass windows in the front of the trailer while I was sitting there with my dog. Once again, between 10:30 and 12 o'clock at night. And who knows, this could be in my mind, right? And so I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? And it stopped. The light stopped right in front of my door, right in front of my bookcase where my furnace is now. And I thought, wow, this is really weird.
Uh-oh. Got a froze happened. Hopefully she'll be right back. I'm just dealing with my dog bite, hoping I don't turn to a dog man. But
turn into a bulldog there.
a bulldog, yeah, American bulldog. And was just one bite, but it was like a bunch of scrapes too, I guess, and it keeps just like kind of oozing. But luckily, I have it wrapped. I put Neosporin and stuff on it, witch hazel first, and then Neosporin, and then I'll do Epsom salt. Usually, try to soak it in that. But our guest froze up. Hopefully, she'll come back. I don't know if. Hopefully, she'll return. And got Leo Zagami next week. Illuminati Secrets. I named it Illuminati Blues, like Illuminati, naughty. And he's on a bunch of shows. I don't know if he's still with Italians for Trump. I'll try not to ask him about that, but or I will. You never know. But mostly we're going to be talking about the Illuminati. Like he has like weird, like wrote a lot of books. Like he's like supposed to be in some guy, this Michael Jaco Navy SEAL guy. Like there's all these personalities I have to share at work, and he's like a Navy SEAL. A lot of them are former CIA. And this guy's Michael Jaco Navy SEAL, and he's like this bald Navy SEAL dude that has a show. But I know it said former Illuminati insider Leo Zagami when I saw that last title, which I'm not sure why the former. Like, did you retire? Like, I don't know, but either way, he's an Illuminati insider. So we'll see what's up. Hopefully, it's not those Illuminatis that are trying to get you on Facebook. Like, there's
who are they? I don't know who they are.
There's like a serious like Illuminati that who knows if it really exists, maybe like the Cabal or whatever. That's probably like old yuppie white guys. But there's like this weird cult of like, I don't know if they're Indian or like they're all kinds of races. And it's like they come to you and try to get you to join, but it's like a weirder, like lesser cult called the Illuminati. And they make Facebook profiles and they say I'm in the Illuminati and they're serious, like it's weird. And I've talked to him about those before too. I think it's like a weird cult that's probably not really the Illuminati. They just call themselves the Illuminati. And then there's possibly the real Illuminati, which I don't know if that exists. I mean, I know there's assholes in power that are circle jerk freaks or whatever, but other than that, as if they're really Illuminati, I don't know. But there is a weird, like lesser weird thing that's called Illuminati, and they try to like get to you on Facebook. Facebook is just like sleaze town lately. Like it's
gotten pretty weird. Yeah.
Don't look in your spam folders. My God, it's like there's like porno parties happening in there. I don't ever go into those rooms. It's like all these weird rooms where people are just like, I guess fornicating or something, or trying to trick you to go into their weird fishing places or whatever. Like I never have gone into one of them. I would be too afraid to. There's so many fishing, like it's weird. Like if I look in my spam folder, like there's weird shit happening on Facebook. Like there's always these weird people cloning other people. And then they take your profile and you can never get it back ever. And then they make little clones of you. Like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it is weird. I don't know. That's part of the reason why I don't actually put my face up. I mean, I have some photos of myself, but you have to like go into my account for a little while before you find photos of me. That's why I don't put my face up. I mean, they could still clone my account, but they tend to clone accounts where there's a person's face, a photo of this. People are using their own face.
Yeah.
So
that's really creepy.
Yeah, it is creepy. It is creepy. And it's really hard to get it shut down. I mean, I have a friend here in the Hudson Valley who is a kind of a holistic healer kind of person. She does holistic healing energy work, and I guess she does some psychic stuff. And some chick cloned her account and tried to steal her identity. and was and obviously was trying to like, you know, pull her friends away and clients away and stuff. And I don't know that she ever found out exactly who this person was, but she had to like elicit like a gang of followers to try to report it to Facebook before Facebook even sort of started doing anything about it. It was and I still don't know exactly if she's taken care of all of it.
There she is. Yeah, it's crazy. I was on looking at my credit report on Credit Karma. Someone took my identity and made a Credit Karma report and spelt my name wrong. And I don't know if they got a card. I'm trying to get a deeper report, but someone stole my identity and made a Credit Karma account. And like they even spelt my name wrong. And I had to and I seized the account and changed the name correctly and basically probably hurt my credit. I'm still trying to figure it out. But it's crazy. But let's get her back. Here we go. Hey, Suzanne.
Yeah, hey, my iPad overheated and it doesn't feel that hot, but it's sitting in the sun, so
Yeah,
it overheated. Sorry about that.
that's
But
okay.
yeah. So there was a theme in the experiences that I've had, in the sense, at least on this land, that there was always a pattern where there'd be the same sound, but it was almost programmed like it was the same sound. It was weird. It was very weird. Um, but the very last night I was here, before I went to Pittsburgh for the winter, about 2 winters ago, before I left, uh, about a month after all this other stuff happened, maybe 2 months, 11 o'clock at night, there was a scratch in the window in the front where I slept. Around 11, I was just scrolling YouTube, minding my own business, and I heard a scratch, very slow and very timid, like almost. I thought, what the heck is that? And I just kind of looked up and looked at that. And I never opened my curtains. I'm too afraid to open my curtains. And so I said, well, it's my imagination. And I just went back to whatever I was doing. And even over the YouTube sound, I could hear a scratch. So I turned it off and I started listening. And exactly in the same, and here's that pattern again, in the exact middle of the window, on the exact opposite side where there was a window, there was that scratching again. And so it just felt really weird. I told it to go away. And it was weird because before the scratching happened, I I told Bigfoot, I said, hey, I'm leaving tomorrow. I left a whole bunch of stones out there for you if you want any of those. And I said, I'm just going to be gone for the winter. And that's another part of my experience out here. I've been talking at times to the Ponte and Mo, especially, and then Bigfoot. And I don't know, it felt like maybe that was Bigfoot, but then the scratching seemed like, well, maybe that's Skinwalker. So, uh, yeah. So when I got back, I had seen a medicine man. When I was in Pittsburgh, I saw a medicine man and got a healing for the land and myself um, on video. And so I was lucky to have the particular person work on the land. When I got back with my daughter after going to Pittsburgh for the winter, I just never had a problem out here again. It just felt, the energy just felt so different out here. Uh,
And one of my big experiences has been seeing beings of light with my physical eye and just seeing them completely sober. And there's been a few times I was partying and I saw them too, but there's one particular time I
right.
was completely sober and the only thing I do is weed. But as far as years ago, I was at Silver Lake in a house here, and something told me to go outside and look towards the house, and I saw two people made of light as if they'd been inside my home, fly through the roof and go into the heavens. And I will never forget it. Anytime I just about talk about it, I get goosebumps. Anytime I do, I just did now. And
Yeah.
I know you said Language of Light, and I know also RD6 Killer Clark, which is a great native author. If you ever get a chance to look her up, she has a story. She takes native stories from people about the
Yeah.
star people, and she had a story in there, in one of them, maybe Sky People or the native book, about a race of light people that were supposed to come back to help the Earth, and somehow they left a handprint somewhere that's famous, and
Mhm.
they're connected to it. But I've seen those beings of light, and I don't know if it's my father's past. A lot of people past. Maybe it's them visiting. But I mean, there's
Yeah.
so I've heard aliens, angels. But has that ever came up, light beings in your journeys or out there?
Not like visible light beings. There was that band of light. What that was, I'm not sure. Uh, but I've always affiliated in dream state and things with light beings. One night I had this really strange experience after years after all of the activity died down from what I'm just explaining to you. I had this weird experience, and I've had this kind of experience my entire life, where at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 1, 5 in the morning, I'll wake up, I'll be completely awake from sleep, or I hadn't slept that night, or whatever the issue was, and it'll just pop into an awareness, like in my third eye, just like when I went to visit the Ponte, that this character from our future came into my third eye. And I said, "This is what I do." I say, "Well, who are you? You know, who are you?" And well, I'm a light being, and I'm a light being halfway mark from human stage. This is me in your future. This is a human in your future, a light being from full light being where we don't have anything distinguishable that we were human, just pure light. But this is a stage of development for humans, he said, that was between where we are now and our complete light being stage, which is, he said it was our destiny or something. And I said, "Okay, well, why are you visiting me right now?" And he said, "Well, I want to let you know that in 6 months, within 6 months, or it could be longer, that it will be allowed that a nuclear arms race will start, and they'll only be allowed." They kept using the word allowed. It would only be allowed that one bomb will happen, and we don't want that to happen. But if it happens that way, it has to be that way for your ascension. And so I said, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." And this was like, I don't know when that happened, like maybe a year ago. And I had emailed Mary about that, who wrote the the New Human, and so she said, "Yeah, I'm getting a lot of things happening. People texting me and stuff that something's happening. We don't know what."
Is that
And
Rodwell? Isn't her name Mary
yeah,
Rodwell?
Mary Bradwell. Yeah, and so but what was interesting about this one character was they had a feature of kind of minimalism where their features were not pronounced, if at all, and they had like uh, translucent kind of skin, so much so that they weren't like tiny and spindly like some of the grays are. They were almost like pretty healthy looking humans, but they were, this particular one was half light and half, they weren't completely light yet. And you could see all these electrical, just pretend that you're seeing a silhouette in 3D.
That's how these
And
were. Yeah, no
yeah,
physical
yeah,
features. It was like
yeah,
something out of a comic book, like that, but you're
yeah,
seeing it
that's
in
right.
front
And
of
I'm
you.
calling it a character. That's right. And
Yeah,
so this guy was between the human stage and the complete light people. But you could see the electrical impulses that like, let's say you can see the neurons in the brain, right? His entire body was that way. And so what this is all about, I don't know. but I do know that there's been a lot of ascension symptoms since, unfortunately, the conflict in the Middle East with Israel and a lot of things going out there. Um, so that was a strange thing that happened, but that kind of thing has happened to me my entire life, where I'll just be waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'll bilocate, or I'll wake up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'll get a visitation from my friend who I visited them at their funeral, and I waved goodbye to them when they were in the casket. Well, the next morning, after going to, and this is like way back in 2019, maybe, um, 2018, I had a visit from Jay, just like he said would happen. He said he would jump around the corner and try to scare me. Now, I didn't see him, but I felt an energetic presence in the room. And I just felt it was probably Jay, my friend who passed. And so, all of a sudden I started downloading, and this is getting off track of the experiences here a little bit because there's more
It's okay.
experiences here. But like, so I just kind of like sat back and just kind of let things happen when these kind of things happen. And I'm downloading. And he downloaded information to me because we had talked about this before he died, that he would come back and scare me, and he would also tell me what the secrets are up there.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started telling me visually what's going on up in the heavenly realm as far as why things happen the way they do. I have it written down somewhere. It's kind of poetic how it came out, and it was almost like channeling. It was downloading information, and um, Jay said that, or through the visuals, said that we are the way we are, and we can't get out of the muck of duality because we are duality. We can't get out of the way the universe is anyway because we're part of it, and it's all meant to help the source grow as well. And that's what his explanation was after going to heaven. And he showed me visually that there was almost a young man, androgynous looking, maybe a young teenager, young 20 person sitting at a table. And the table was kind of like oblong shaped, round, egg shaped, but long. And the person was sitting in front of the table, watching in earnest this scene play out of this mist, almost like it looked like the Milky Way galaxy, and but it wasn't. And I saw these shoots of electrical impulses coming in that cloud formation. And I said to Jay, I said, "Tell me what's going on here." And through visuals, Jay told me that that person was to watch, like almost like the Vessel Virgin watching in the fire, was to be the observer of the universe. And the reason that the electrical impulses were happening was that any time in the universe, anywhere, not only on Earth, that anytime one or more got together in unison for unity and peace, and they affected other people positively, that the fire would go off, almost like a brain neuron again. And and anytime that happened, visually, it was like watching a movie. Visually, this figure that started out kind of what you couldn't tell. You knew it was a human form, kind of, but you weren't really sure, and it kind of morphed around. And this this was Source
Mm-hmm.
symbolically, and Source was like uh, like a conductor. Like there was a tone anytime there was a like a neuron firing from the works of people, or other planets coming in unity. It had to be more than one person and being of service and unity or prayer. And it kind of made the neuron happen. But then there would be a tone. So there was a musical orchestra happening with different tones every time the neuron went off when there was a good deed happening, right? A good deed. And
Yes.
so, and Source was having the time of his or her life up there, right? Being really joyful with this, responding to it. And then I said, tell me more, Jay. Is there more? Is there more information to know? And all of a sudden, in that scene where there was this one young person being the observer, there were, I don't know, forever, eternity, the same situation with a table and one observer and a universe. And I said, well, how long does that go out there? Are there hundreds? He said, that's infinity. There is an infinite number of universes, but source is um, basically energy and sound. We call it energy and sound, but this, but anyway, and then of course it's being filtered through my own human abilities to take in whatever I can, and so visually, and so and I said, wow, this is really fascinating. And then I thought about it like for days after that. I had it written down like in a poetry book. It's a lot like what Jesus said in the Bible, that when one or more of you are together, that some powerful, I think it's in the Course in Miracles too, some powerful things, powerful miracles can happen. And I thought it was just fascinating with the music involved and the tonal quality and all of that. But yeah, but that was not necessarily an unseen experience, and it definitely wasn't in the desert. But yeah, so back to living here. This entire area is very magical. It's very magical. And there's something in the air here, whether it's manifesting from a natural source and we're just interpreting it as being magical, or because of the energy imprints here, there's magic here. But it doesn't feel like it's dark energy at all. Um, and there are other experiences I had when I was here. Um, about a month, 3 weeks, a month before I actually went back to Pittsburgh for the entire winter, um, I was saying goodbye to the Ponte. When I was outside in this grove area, I could face the Sandia Mountains. And about 5 minutes after that, there appeared almost like a shape of a cloud hovering above the Sandia Mountains. It was darker than the rest of the clouds, and it was in the shape of an ET face. And then after that disappeared, there was a rainbow, and it hadn't rained earlier. I don't know where the people tell me that a rainbow can happen because it can get really misty up there, condensation and everything. But that was a really strange experience with that. Um, and that's about it. And there's a deeper, there's a like a, other than just having strange experiences, there's like a deeper experience here where my private conversations with Mo, I can't say I'm channeling her. I'm just having conversations with her. And um, there's a difference in their energy that it's hard to put words to. It doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like something like you'd be scared of, but it just feels, uh, I can't say serious or stirred, but there's a love coming. They're very joyful beings, the Pantu, but there's a quality of them where they, it seems like Mo, like will look at things a certain way and be very quiet about things, and just kind of, and this is all through telepathy, but um, there's just a healing quality about it and a level of discernment coming from them that, of course, is not human, because we are our worst enemies. I feel all of us are. And we're like blindsided. We think things are one way when they're really not that way at all, fundamentally. And
Yeah.
so just there's a freshness, is what I'm trying to say. And there's also almost like a non duality feeling about the Ponte. Like they're very non duality. And so the story part of it, the personal story part of it, is that yes, these are paranormal, unseen experiences, but they've gotten to the point in my life as helpers or comrades or I can't say colleagues, but there's like almost a relationship, if that makes sense.
Yes, it
And,
does.
and yeah, so and it's
Knickknack to
happening
death.
that's happening all around the world with people, with not only ETs, angels, and I mean, a lot of things. But anyway, that's about it. And it's funny because sometimes before I started working, I was relying on my retirement income, and I'd be walking around at night, like trying to get home, and it would be pitch black, and I'd be cutting through the wash, and I'd go, "Oh my God, it's a shorter walk to get the trailer from here in the wash." And then I'd think, "Oh my God, I'm in the wash. This is where the coyotes hang out." So I'm almost home, and I say, "Bigfoot, Bigfoot, where are you? Bigfoot, I need your help tuning into
Mhm.
Bigfoot right now, you know?"
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's a personal story that,
Are humans caterpillars and the light beings the butterflies that we become when we croak? That's what I wonder. I know there's light beings
I
in a
don't
lot of
know.
different things.
I
Like
don't know.
I
I
know
don't know.
here in Florida where I'm at, there's a place up down the road in Graceville, Florida, in the Panhandle. That's a little like a village from there's a Baptist church and
Hmm.
like a college, Baptist college, and they made this area called Heritage North, and it's like all these old houses and churches, and I called it Little House on the Prairie, and it
Yeah.
has like pioneer furniture in it and stuff. But there's a story that happened there, and it's on a board out there with pictures about Spanish monks and natives clashing and killing each other because one of the natives refused to he wanted more than one wife and they were trying to make him just have one, so a bloodshed happened, a massacre. And basically the Bible college, I guess, or the city or whatever, all of them, they basically just ripped it all down, like all of it, and they're tearing it down and probably just going to put something stupid there. But it's sad because I used to go there and nobody hardly went there. It's like a weird little village that just of old churches and houses from back in the day, and
Yeah.
butter churning and a schoolhouse, just weird stuff. But they ripped it down, so I've wondered if that's going to upset something here. I don't know if it will or not, but something
I don't
feels
know.
different. Something
It
feels different
could.
since they did it.
It could. It could. It could. One thing that happened when I got back, well, when the first night I was in Pittsburgh, after leaving all those experiences, I, I was sleeping downstairs. My daughter had set up a bedroom down there for me, and I still had things on the wall from when I lived there too. And Alan's drum was above my head on a hook. Okay, it was like a hook, right? And that hook was having the rawhide thing around it. Okay, you gotta understand that. And then in the kitchen area leading to the basement, there was a painting that I had done a long time ago, and it was framed in glass. And they both fell down at the same time. The first night I was there in Pittsburgh, and whether they're related or not, and if that's the case, then I did have a hitchhiker, coming from the land, whatever they were doing. But how could the drum fall from the wall with a hook on it unless my daughter was cleaning and she put it back? And but why did they fall at the same time? You know what I mean? But yeah, that was happening. And then what was it? Oh, another weird thing that happened when we first got back here. Um, I had left things out as if somebody was still living here because I was worried about people just whatever they call that, like just hanging out at your place for like months or whatever. And so we came back and the rocks were not touched. I had put like 3 uh, containers of really beautiful rocks I found here, and then also crystals out for Bigfoot on like a steps, like a taller step stool ladder thing, and they were not touched. But what was touched was I had taken off the awning from my trailer. It gets so windy here, just unexpectedly. It's hard to just run out because, anyway, I took it off and I put it over to the side of the juniper tree over way over there at the north end. And I get back and it's back up again. Like somebody had put it back up again for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And but it was the wind is so strong up here at times it of course ripped it, you know. But
Well,
that was strange. That was strange.
well, one last thing before you go, I've always wondered about the skinwalkers. Like I saw on that, I know on the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch show, I've watched all of those. That there's definitely something going on there, and of course, the creepiest thing about that show is all the government spooks there. There's like Bigelow personnel. There's like Colonel John Alexander, but they also had this Beyond Skinwalker Ranch spinoff show, and they have former CIA and that Chris Bledsoe guy came on there with like neurology stuff, summoning UFOs with Colonel John Alexander there. Like there's so many
Yeah.
spooks on this show. It's more creepier than the paranormal stuff. But on one
Yeah.
episode, which gets me to my question, is they had the Navajo police guy there that's pretty famous, that's been on Unsolved Mysteries and stuff.
Oh
They went,
yes,
they
yes.
went to a house out there that had been harassed by the skinwalkers, and the lady and the family, I guess, was Navajo, and they got ran off by the
Oh,
forces there. And they said that they would hear horse noises out there when they came, like hoofs. And then later, they on that show, they went there with the police guy, the Navajo police dude, and set up all their computer at, I guess, Satan's Butt or whatever that thing's called. I think it was that. And the wind blew and like crazy stuff happened. So he made them leave because he was afraid something bad was going to happen. But a lot of stuff was happening
yeah.
to their technology. But later on, they said because they showed light on that situation through the show, the skinwalkers left. And then the Navajo Nation gave her a new home. And
Whoa.
I guess I'm just kind of curious, and that's from the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch show, where they're now going to other ranches, and similar phenomenon as Skinwalker Ranch is happening at Bradshaw. There's so many, every episode's a different ranch, and weird crap happens at these ranches. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out what the hell is it with ranches? Is it just because they're in like reclusive areas that this stuff happens? But I'm also trying to figure out, I guess, the Skinwalkers, like, they seem like witches with powers. Like, I guess I'm just trying to figure out how they do some of that stuff. They can shapeshift, right? And I mean, how do you sound like horses? Like, it's just weird, like some weird stuff I try to figure out, which I don't probably need to
Yeah.
figure out because I don't want to be a skinwalker. I don't want them to recruit me or something. Being a
Well, from what I
loincloth in the
understand,
woods.
well, maybe Professor Wham can correct me, maybe, but like from what I understand from that book that I read, that things got out of control, and then it becomes an energy all on its own almost. But like, who
What's the
knows
book?
why?
What's
Who
the
knows
book?
why the ranch is? It's more. I think it's because of what's underneath the mineral. Like, there's a bunch of crystals underneath here. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of like maybe the right type of property in the stone creates a vulnerability to have these things happen. Who knows?
There's a lot of that at Skinwalker Ranch, plus radiation burns and people getting sick and wounded. Like they had people out from the TikTok video, from that Pentagon UFO video, and apparently
Yeah,
some of the witnesses of the TikTok stuff have their own like equipment to track UFOs. They came out there and all got sick. Like a lot of
yeah,
people get sick out there, like and have to go to the
yeah.
hospital. One guy had a weird head wound, but yeah, the S Walker thing. You mentioned a book. What book was that? Do you remember? What book were you reading?
I'm not sure. Oh, the book. I don't remember the book. I got it from the library. I didn't even take it out. I was just trying to find information about, do I have a skinwalker? Is this what is going on here? And
Yeah.
so I was trying to look up the history of the area. But it's, to answer your question, how could the witches um, shapeshift? And it's in a lot of cultures, shapeshifting. But from what I understand, from what Mary has told me, and it's in one of her books, that I think she calls it transfiguration, and the spiritualists call it something else. But it's the ability to change with your, I don't want to call them powers, but to change matter, quantum matter, from one form to another is very easy when you have the skill of transfiguration. And what that is, I'm not sure. But one thing about me is I've always done something like that naturally, where that, um, like for instance, I don't know if I mentioned this on another show, but when I was in junior high and high school, volleyball was really popular when I was in public school. And every time I got up to serve, I would go into hyper mode. I have ADHD really bad, and I would go into super hyper focus, right? And when I did that, I believe that I changed the energy level in the room, because every time that I would serve, we always got at least 1 or 2 points, sometimes three, because the people on the other side were zombies. They were not acting right. And I didn't do it on purpose to zombie them out, but the energy was so strong, I guess, that they were just kind of in another space for a little bit. And then some of them, you could see some of them looking at each other. It's like, hey, how come you didn't hit that ball? It sounds like I'm making it up, or it sounds like I'm interpreting my surroundings wrong. But I had conversations with my friends, about it. Well, we don't know what's going on, but let's get the points. We were teenagers, and that kind of thing has happened to me in other ways throughout my life, and it's called transfiguration. And a lot of new humans, we're all new humans to a degree, but the hybrids and people who have been somehow having experiences with, whether they're light beings or the grays, it doesn't matter, their their DNA has changed, and their entire systems, like almost electronically, has changed. And so they react with their environment a little bit differently than somebody who hasn't been upgraded, or whatever you want to call it, with this hybridization, or this, it doesn't even have to be through ETs. It could just be through like an ecstatic kind of connection to source, even. But it's a powerful, uh, it's not using your left brain for sure, like in that
Yeah.
kind of way. But it's
The
called transfiguration, is what they do. What they do, I don't know.
and the race of people that you say are like the Greys, what did you call them again? And how tall are they, by the way? Are they short? Are they tall? I mean, I'm trying to
The
figure it out.
Ponti, the
Yeah,
Ponti.
yeah.
Well, I don't really know them that well. I just had those few experiences, and I know Mo, but I don't know. It seemed like they were pretty tiny. I mean, when they came around the corner, I'd say, like, I'm 5'2" now, and they were about half my size in height.
Do they
And
wear
they were,
cloaks? Do you ever
I didn't,
see?
s-
I
one
had
wore a hat, one had a hat on, and then they just looked like spindly little munchkins.
I had an
And
experience once where three cloaked beings were standing with a black box watching me, and a friend saw them with me, and a cat jumped towards them and they vanished. And I'm always trying to figure out who they were and what they were up to. So when I hear about stuff, I'm like, was that them? Were they in cloaks? Like, who were those little things? They look like little
yeah,
Jawas, but no facial features like Jawas, but skinnier and a black box. And the cat somehow, I guess they don't like cats. I don't know. But when the cat jumped at them, they vanished.
oh wow, huh? But I hope that answers your question about the skinwalker
Yeah.
ability to shapeshift.
I know that's
And
in a lot of stuff, druidry and stuff. I mean, it's just hard to fathom. I mean, I think it's possible, but I mean, it's just trying to wrap your head around just being able to turn into an owl suddenly,
a lot
or
of the well, most of them are kids. I mean, Mary studies kids mostly, and lot of the new human kids who've been upgraded can do transfiguration, but it's more like something that is part of them. It's not like they practiced it and they got really good at it or something like that.
it's
But
just natural.
that's all of our destiny is to be able to do that. And so there are other experiences with the energy thing. I mean, who knows? I did about 2.5 hours of ceremony on the land before I brought the trailer over here, and I spoke to the natural world here, and I said, "Hey, um, this land, it will eventually be a healing center, but I'll be living on it. Is this okay? And I just want to tell you, that I'll do my best to treat the land really well." And I was just inviting myself to the neighborhood, I guess. And then I had all these powerful experiences when I was in Pittsburgh, when I was sick and I had gone back that winter. Uh, when I got back, a lot of that activity all that activity had stopped. But when I was there, um, I had a little crystal ceremony in a tent that I had put up that I was going to take back on my journey back. And it was a very heavy duty tent. And it was kind of a tunnel tent, so the wind would not pick it up, right? So I did this ceremony with my friend, whose name is Crystal, just to have abundance on our trip out and all that. And about an hour after we did that ceremony, Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh. It has these weird storms that just come through. There was a microburst, I'm assuming, that lifted the tent up. And my daughter was screaming, "Get down here now or look out the window in the backyard. Your tent is flying." I said, "What? It's staked down. It has stuff in it. What are you talking about?" And were those related? I don't know. But when I got downstairs and I opened the back porch, the entire tent was flat. And
Huh.
whether it was to do with that ceremony, I don't know, but I'm getting an inkling that it has something to do with that transfiguration that happens. Uh, so,
It's definitely fascinating for sure, and I think there's a connection with the sun as the source. Like maybe that's the divine manifestation of that light, like the most visible one or whatever. Definitely weird stuff. I've had weird sun experiences, and the
yeah,
beam of light and the light around us seems connected to that on some level, like it is a lamp. I know I'm not a Jehovah's Witness, but I know in their little magazines they try to bug you with it. They show Jesus in the throne sitting in the sun. I know cultures have their different views of it, but the sun's always
yeah,
fascinating too. There's been whole books by Gregory Sam's written about the sun that's pretty fascinating. But
yeah.
well, do you need to go now, or are you good? What do you want to do? It's up to you. I'm just checking.
It's up to you, Jeffrey. I mean, I have things to do before the sun sets, and it's probably about another hour away
Okay.
here. We can end it now, but I'm just curious if you have any questions.
Uh, well, whatever you're comfortable with. I've enjoyed it. It's been really good. You can be our watcher out there in the desert for sure on that side of the earth. And I'm here in Florida, and it feels weird as hell here lately. And I know I've read stuff
Yeah,
about the Earth's core turning backwards from scientists. I don't know how true that is, but something just feels between all the war crap and politics crap, like everything just feels crazy. Like the
yeah,
air just feels like all hell's about to break loose more and more every day. And then if
Yeah,
you
doesn't
actually,
it feel like frazzled? Like if it had an image, it would be like a bunch of like wiggly lines, like all over the
yeah,
place. Yeah.
and then just the stuff, with Israel and all that, that's just about to go up like it just seems like all shit's about to break loose, no matter a little bit more each day.
Yeah,
It
yeah. And
gets
the fact I
old.
landed, Jeffrey, the fact I landed here is so strange too. I got stuck here basically, right? And so Sue said, I told Sue about what happened, and she said, well, that's destiny for you, right? And so what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say.
You landed there, Destiny, and answering
Yeah,
questions.
yeah,
And well, Florida, I'm originally from Georgia, and
yeah,
we moved to Florida when my dad passed away, and it was great, but it's just been getting so hotter here. It's miserable outside. Like it's so
yeah,
humid. It's just the bugs are waiting for me to come outside to eat me, pretty much. And
yeah,
we've had a horrible problem. I just put that diatomaceous earth all in the yard to try to kill fleas because our little Boston Terrier went out there and he came in and I swear he had 50 fleas on him just from being outside to go pee really fast. And we had to get them off, like picking them off like gorillas trying to get them off. And he's better.
yeah,
And we've used 3 different things. It's like they're evolving. Like it seems like the earth is trying to like eat the parasites and it thinks it's us some days is what it feels like just with everything going on. The heat is horrible. Oh man, it's just you can't even be out there for a minute, you'll be drenched. A minute.
wow.
It's
Wow.
horrible. It's like Amazon meets Vietnam.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's crazy. Well, if
Yeah.
you guys ever want to come out here, like I'm hoping to finally build in the spring. It's been a journey out here, believe me. And I don't know what I was going to say earlier, but I got here by accident.
Yeah.
There was a connection. I just don't know what it was. But anyway,
What
I
are
had
you
fun.
building
Thank
out
you for
there?
inviting me. What?
What are you building out there? You're on a ranch pretty much, aren't you? I mean,
I'm
it's
on 1 acre, and it used to be more remote than it is now.
got a lot around you.
We've had two more. We have had two more homes come in, not too far from here. I can see houses being put up where they weren't here. I mean, when at nighttime, the only lights were Albuquerque lights and Rio Rancho lights, and now you can see lights encroaching season
Yeah.
by season, and I don't really like that because I do like to be in a remote area.
Yeah,
But
I want to escape Florida one year, but it's a financial thing. I'm always worried it's going to go underwater. But I'm up top near Georgia and Alabama, so we at least get cold weather. Thank God, like
yeah,
the 20s and 30s for about 5 or 6 months. It's been colder too. But yeah, it's been a great show, and we'll have to get you on again. We appreciate it so
yeah.
much, and thanks for filling in. Scheduling's been really weird. We had this
Well,
we had this
yeah,
one guy, Jim Willis, that was coming on about the near. He wrote a near-death experience book. He died right before the show, on the day of the show, and he was
yeah,
coming on about the afterlife. And I didn't ever interviewed him before, but there's been a lot of cancellations because of family emergencies and health stuff. A lot of people have the big C, COVID. Andy has it right now. Bill and JC Kasulis, who do the Mothman book and stuff, they have it. I mean, I keep hearing people they have it. So it's
wow.
like. So it's been a lot of cancellations. So we appreciate it so much. Thank you for filling in.
Yeah, yeah. And Professor Wham, I didn't get a chance to hear from you tonight. Are
That's
you a real
well,
professor?
I was. I'm. There's a story to my name, but I did teach at the university college level. Yes, and I do have a PhD,
Nice,
and
nice.
I wrote my dissertation on alien abduction narratives. So I come to
Wow.
these topics overly educated, and so
Yeah,
But we appreciate it. It's been a great show, and thank you
yeah,
so much. And keep
yeah.
us in the
Bye, you
loop if
guys.
anything. Bye. Take
Stay
care.
safe.
Have a good
Stay
night.
safe out there.
you
You
too.
too. Have a
Bye
great
bye.
weekend. Take
You
care.
too.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Okay. My wound is oozing, and I'm turning into a werewolf.
Yeah, you better. You need at least better bandages than
Yeah,
what,
that's,
paper towels?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm gonna.
Do you have an urgent care close to you?
Yeah. I it's like a bite that unfortunately it hit a bone, but it didn't hit an artery, thank God. And the first thing I did was clean it and do witch hazel and then neosporin, and then I'm going to do Epsom salts. But if it doesn't, I'll have to do something like that. But I'm hoping not to. I worry too because you always hear stories of dog bite. They've had their shots and stuff, but I still like bacteria and crazy stuff. I know.
Oh yeah, it's mostly infection that you have to worry about. I mean, it's good that it's bleeding because that'll keep at least it'll help to flush stuff out, but you will need to watch it.
But I know we've talked about ticks and Lyme disease, but what's up with fleas? I mean, have you heard it? A lot of people around here saying they're insane. Like,
I don't know how they are. Around where I live, there obviously are fleas. We never had that much trouble with our cat getting fleas. I mean, I'm sure that the other animals around here have them, but that I think it varies a little bit, where you're at. But we have ticks, we have the mosquitoes here, right? This year, the mosquitoes here are unbelievable. There's like 3 or 4 different distinct kinds. I'm seriously, they range in size from little tiny ones to like big, much bigger ones. And it's like I have to cover myself up when I deal with the chickens and stuff because I can't put like repellent on my hands because I'm handling them and their food and stuff, So I don't want to get that stuff on them. But I have to like wear clothing even when it's hot, or I will just being out for 10 minutes, you're just covered with mosquito bites. I've never experienced it here like that before. It's really been crazy. And we also have black flies, which are terrible.
Is that a deer fly? Is that a deer fly or different?
Well, I don't know what you guys call a deer fly. I think a deer fly is bigger. Black flies
that hurts like hell. That's all.
Yeah, well, maybe it's the same thing, but yeah, black flies are like little small flies, and they like take a chunk out of you. They like land on you, and they go and it really hurts.
That's what it did. I had one do it to me, and it hurt all night, and it like kept throbbing, and I'd take Benadryl. Like it really messed with me. And next thing you know, I'm reading about them, and they can carry crap, and you start freaking out.
Well, but the mosquitoes here can carry stuff. I mean, it's like there's West Nile viruses floating around, although I've already had that, so don't really worry about that. But like there is a kind of endemic form of encephalitis that which is a brain infection that it doesn't harm humans usually unless you have a bad immune system, but it can really hurt livestock, horses or deer, and it's spread by these damn mosquitoes. And but I mean, I'm sure there are fleas, but we just haven't had that much experience here with them. Or even in New York, I haven't had that much experience with fleas. I mean, I've had really bad fleas in other places. Like when I lived in Kansas City, there were several. I once got a new apartment, and it turned out that whoever had lived in the apartment before, they had pets, and the pets had fleas that were in the carpet and that had been treated. And I mean, usually, dog fleas don't jump on humans unless there's like nobody else to jump on, because human fleas are like a different type of flea. But boy, they hadn't been fed in a while. And I just got eaten alive for them before I treated that apartment. So I know what fleas can do, but I haven't had that much experience with them here. Or I haven't heard about it here. But I wouldn't be surprised. Ugh.
Yeah, they're worse here for sure. Like, I mean, it's like a horror movie. And you ever heard of that diatomaceous earth stuff, that white powder?
Yeah.
Out there.
Yeah.
That's supposed to do something to them, but
Yeah, I
maybe.
mean, you have to be careful when you use that, because you don't want use if you can get food grade diatomaceous earth,
Yeah.
you don't want your animals breathing too much of that stuff, because it can harm their lungs.
Better be careful.
A little bits of it, like if you put it in their bedding, and then as long as you treat them too, but if you put it in their bedding and then have your animals sleep somewhere else for a night or two, and then like vacuum all that up, that's kind of the way that I've used that in the past. See, diatomaceous earth, they're like little silicon, they're like diatoms or something. They're like little silicon, they're little skeletons of little beings.
Yeah.
And what they do is they're tiny, and I guess what the idea is they get into the joints of the fleas and sort of cut them up,
Good.
and but you don't want to just like put a bunch of it down and then let your animals sleep on it, because they'll breathe it in and it can damage their lungs and stuff like that. So that's what I understand you do, is you like sprinkle it around, have your animals sleep somewhere else. After a day or two, you vacuum it up, and that's supposed to help.
Yeah. And I've read people say you can drink it. Is that smart?
I don't know why you would do that.
Bacteria or something in your body or something.
No, it's
Toxin.
yeah, bacteria are too small to be affected
Let me
by.
see. Toxin remove. Let me see. Let's see. I've never done it, but I've saw people talking about it, which don't mean anything. I mean, not saying that's smart.
Yeah, I don't think that it would probably hurt a human to drink some of it, but I don't think that it's going to do anything to parasites. I
Yeah.
mean,
Let's see. Diatomaceous earth. I don't know where I saw it, but I think they have it on Amazon and people do it for some reason. I have no idea why, but I don't know if I'd want to do it.
well,
Sure.
people ingest all kinds of weird things for health reasons.
Yeah, that's for sure. And have you seen I saw there's a new Unsolved Mysteries season. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, is it on Netflix?
Yeah, I see how new it is first, because you may have already
Okay,
seen it. But
hold on just a minute. Let
fourth
me.
season, I think.
Is it the fourth? Oh, there it is! Yay! Yay!
It looks like it has a lot of paranormal in it.
Well, that people were complaining about that. They were like, Netflix Unsolved Mysteries used to be as much paranormal as it was true crime. So maybe they did that. That's cool. That's good. I can watch it this weekend. Yay!
Nice. I need to start it all over. I think at season 1 at some point. I've seen the Paranormal Navajo episode, and I saw season 1, but
Yeah, all the seasons are pretty good. I mean, there are really good episodes in each of the seasons.
yeah. And you remember the Navajo one with the coins?
Yeah.
That's the guy that was in that episode I was talking about
Oh yeah.
on Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah, that was a weird one. There's coins appearing. It seems legit. They don't seem like they would make it up. So it's pretty crazy, pretty weird.
Yeah, there's I think one of my favorite ones is the story of I think it's in season 1. It's the story of that UFO that night, where all these different people in Massachusetts and Connecticut saw this UFO, and they take the time to and had abduction experiences, like a number of people did, and they took the time to actually do a timeline of when everybody was experiencing it, kind of in sequence. And it's just a well done episode. It's like one of those episodes where it's just told, through the voices of the people who experienced it. There's not a narrator, there's not a commentator. It's just the people talking, and it's really compelling. It's just done really, really well. It's like that's like an episode that I show people, who are skeptical about UFOs. It's like, well, watch this and explain this.
Is that the Thomas Reed one?
The what?
The Thomas Reed episode. A guy named Thomas Reed with glasses is a friend of mine. I haven't interviewed him in a million years, but he's on one of those episodes. I think they had. His name's Thomas Reed, and he had like a brother, and they had UFO stuff in their
I
family.
think so. Yeah, it was like in Massachusetts or
Yeah,
something.
I've interviewed him with Travis Walton before at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a long million years ago. I should get him on again sometime, Thomas Reed. But definitely, gosh, I don't know. I think about the S Walker thing and their abilities. Like, I mean, mostly it seems like it's witchcraft, right? That's the power.
Well, that's the story that's told. The story that's told is that these are a kind of bad sorcerer, essentially.
Yeah.
And the Dene make a distinction between people who we would call medicine people, people who do healing or do spiritual work, for the sake of the community, and people whom they refer to with the word that is translated as witch or skinwalker. Skinwalker is a more of a descriptive term. It doesn't really describe, it's not really a definition of what those what those beings are doing. I have a weird connection to all of that myself because I knew a woman years ago, and I don't want to go into too much detail with this, but I knew a woman years ago who her background was that she was born in the Blackfoot Nation, okay, and her family, her clan, was a powerful clan within the Blackfoot Nation, but she herself, she was she was a victim of one of those government programs in the 1940s and 1950s when they would find various excuses to take children away from their parents on the reservations and give them to white people to raise, usually for like some kind of a federal subsidy. And so she was an individual who was picked to be so adopted because of some family trouble that was happening in her immediate family. And I got to know her, years. She went through all kinds of terrible things growing up. I mean, her adopted parents treated her awfully. I mean, just really terribly. And I met her after she was an older adult, sometime later when I was living in Kansas City. And we became close after a while. We became really good friends. And, we were kind of drawn to each other for some reason. I mean, there was this weird kind of bond, which I never could really understand. And she told me, I had a dream one night. I mean, and this is a weird dream. It's like it was during the time when I knew her. I had a dream one night. And this is before I knew about any of this stuff. This is before I knew about skinwalkers or even that much about Native Americans, other than I seem to have a tendency to meet them and get to know them really well off the reservation. But I had a dream where, so it was before I knew about any, not paranormal stuff, but any of this magical, weird stuff in the Southwest that we've been talking about. I didn't know Skinwalker Ranch existed. I think this happened even before it became a thing. But I had a dream one night where she was an older adult male, and she was Navajo. She had, even though she was Blackfoot in this life, in the dream she was a Navajo, because she had some identifying clothing that helped me to recognize her in the dream. And in the dream, she was an older man who was attacking a younger boy who was a Pueblo youth. I was the Pueblo youth, and this Dene person, or this Navajo person in the dream, was attacking this youth and doing really awful things to them that I don't want to discuss, and killed them with the aim of becoming of doing magic. And that was like a dream I had. And I remember I woke up from this dream and I was like, it was like really awful, because in the dream I was experiencing being murdered.
Mm-mm.
And I remember waking up and going, oh my God, what in the hell? And so the next time I saw her, I said, I pulled her aside. We used to go to AA meetings. That's where I met her. That's when I used to go to AA. I met her at an AA meeting. And I pulled her aside and I said, I had this really weird dream about you. And she went like this. She put her hands up and she said, I know what it is and we can talk about it, but that's the reason why I have the karma in my life that I have today, that I have now. I didn't even tell her the dream. Like she already knew. And so we talked about it later, and she said, I think that's the reason why we were drawn together, so that I could apologize, so that I could make up for it in some way. But the reason why I have the life I've had today, taken away from my clan, taken away from my people, rejected. They never allowed her to return, even as an adult, to the reservation. They took her off the rolls, and that she was just like like she didn't exist, and it was just really weird. It was like one of the strangest experiences I've ever had. But she's like, I know, and that's why I've had to live the life I've had to live, in exile from my people. And it was the strangest thing. That's before I even knew about anything like that. So when I heard the stories about, what it took to be a skinwalker, years and years later, many years later, I was like, oh my God, I had a dream about that. I guess it was a dream, a memory. What was it? I don't know. It was very weird. So that's like my weird connection to all of that. And that's part of the reason why, like, I kind of shy away from it a little bit. It's a little bit too personal in some ways, in the same way that, like, I don't really like watch shows about serial killers. I don't, it's not like a thing that, like, it is for me, like it is for a lot of people, because my life has been touched by two of them. So I really don't want that in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's hard to watch a lot of that stuff. It's just too much. Like, I saw one thing on that co-ed killer guy. I forget his name, that does audiobooks. I was like, God, it's crazy. It's just too much.
Yeah, it's like I know way too much about what humans will do to each other already. I really don't need to, like, constantly be flooding my mind with that stuff. It's just
I
not.
think it can contribute to becoming it, and I think there's been things in my life that would love for me, not in a while, but to do stuff like that. Like, there's a dark side that, like, yeah, why don't you kill so and so? Like, there's things that want you to do that. So watching that, I don't see how that helps any at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't help it any. But yeah, I might get back into unsolved mysteries for sure, and
Oh, that's so exciting. There's a season 4. That's so weird because like just like 2 weeks ago, I was like thinking to myself, they need to come out with another season of that. And
Yeah.
they did. And they did. Oh, I'm that you have made my weekend.
Nice. Nice. Enjoy. I'm going to start them over at some point. There's another good show. I got to watch the 4th season, Resident Alien, and it's about a guy that's an alien in a small town, and it's Alan Tudyk, a really good actor and funny, and he becomes a doctor in a town, and just all this mayhem happens. Linda Carter's in it. It's like a Men in Black evil government lady, and it's got a lot of alien races in it. It's funny. It's from a comic book, but it's a Dark Horse comic book, but it's on Peacock and Side. It's on a lot of things, but it's actually really good. It's called Resident Alien. But that Alan Tudyk, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's always good in anything he's in. I know he's in that Firefly show, I think, or something. He has
Oh,
blonde hair.
yeah.
He's a good actor, but he's in Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and he's a pirate in something. But he's always funny just to watch him. Like he's basically in a human body as the alien. He's always like doing weird like mannerisms and because the alien it's good. It's really good. They did a good job on it. And it's doing well. It's on the 4th season, so I'm behind. I gotta watch the 4th season. But all right, everybody. Well, it's been a good show, and next week's Leo Zagami, and you're listening to United Public Radio 107.7 FM New Orleans. Thanks, Wham. Thanks to Suzanne Bishop for filling in because I was having trouble with that. I even called Andy. He's like, I have COVID, but I maybe I'll do it. And I was like, no, you need to heal. You don't need to do a radio if you have COVID. His knee was swollen too or something. And then Bill and JC had it. So it was just crazy. But anyway, thanks, everybody. Everybody have a good weekend. Take care.
Take care of your arm.
All right. Thank you. Take care. I'll talk at you later.
Bye.
Some grub.